This is my new, actually new to me, 2009 Savage and S40. It's got about 3,500 miles on it, and I really like this bike. It has a lot of features that really fit with what I'm trying to do. This is a motorhome, and the bike will fit on a rack on the back of the motorhome. The rack's pretty sturdy and has a little ramp to drive up, and the motorhome travel around the country. JesusForAmerica.net, non-denominational outreach ministry to Walmarts and flea markets. JesusForAmerica.net. And there's some modifications on this bike that I've done that might be interesting to you. First of all, the standard muffler has been taken off. Saved about 25 pounds. Plus, it, of course, the standard muffler really does muffle. About all you hear is the tappets. And this muffler here is a tapered muffler. It's the same muffler you can get from J.C. Whitney. And I put it on, used the shield from the standard muffler. And one thing I noticed is when I started running this is I got a blued pipe about halfway down the tapered muffler because of the baffles inside the muffler, the way the baffles work. And what I did was the bluing was kind of unsightly. It was kind of uneven, and I went to an auto parts store and got some high temperature paint, some flat black paint that's used for exhaust pipes and things, and taped the muffler with Scotch tape on the left side there. This regular Scotch tape, and then kind of a napkin or paper towel to cover the rest of it, and then painted only the part where it was blued, and it's stood up real well. So it worked out real well. Another thing, J.C. Whitney got a 17-inch wide, it's called a medium trunk, for the storage, helmet, locks, things like that. And I was trying to figure out how to put it on, but it worked out really well with the backrest. I just took off the cushion off the backrest and then mounted the trunk right there on the backrest. And then also I have some other accessories I can show you in a later video that I made with a little rack to go on the back of here that I got at Lowe's from a kitchen rack. It's kind of a chrome kitchen rack. It looks just like a motorcycle rack, and goes right back here. And then also a box that I used, a boater's accessory box that's sealed, and put some holes in it, put it right here. You could use also an army ammunition can, things like that, for holding other types of things. And then at Walmart, a little attachment that goes for bicycles to put a can or a water bottle in. And I also use it, I'm going to be using it to hold a camera mount, and we'll see how that works. And the camera mount I made from a little tripod that I got at the dollar store for $1, and then put some foam around it, and we'll see how that works out. But I really like the bike. It's only about 360 pounds, and even less now with the muffler changed. And so it rides real well, and it's easy to get on and off. I can handle it, getting it on and off the motorhome by myself. And the next modification is going to be the carburetor. On eBay I found a performance kit for the S40, and going to be putting that into the carburetor because it is kind of quirky in terms of the throttle response and backfiring, things like that. Anyway, let's just take a little ride. Blessings. now we'll go take a ride. I'm going to show you how this little trunk is removed. There's a key and you can lock it. Basically you just unlock the key and open this little latch. Basically you open the trunk this way. But when you turn the key, it enables this little button, and you push the button and the trunk comes right off. And if you were wanting to ride somebody else, you just put a little cushion right here, like a cushion off a couch or something, and then put a bungee cord around it. And so and you could also have the rack on the back here if you were carrying stuff on the back. And it's very sturdy. And to put it back, you just put it in the guides and lock it into place. Another tip that I found is that during acceleration with the gears, the 5-speed gearbox, what I was finding was in accelerating from first to second, I was getting a little bit of a difficulty getting into second, and really what it was is it sounded like it was hitting a few gear teeth before going into second, kind of clicking a couple of times, maybe 4 or 5 times gear teeth before going in. It didn't sound real healthy, and I kind of worked with it and tried different things. I was finding the same thing when downshifting. Down into fourth, third was fine, but going into second, I had ran across a few teeth before it clicked in, and it didn't sound good, didn't feel good. And then it was getting the same thing going into first. Downshifting. So what I found was that when you're accelerating, if you get the same kind of thing, I'm not sure if it's characteristic of the bike, but if you get the same thing as you're going from first into second, if you'll shift fairly early into second, just at a fairly low RPM, don't wrap it out in first before you go into second. Shift fairly soon into second, and then go into third, fourth, fifth, be fine, and doesn't seem to have any difficulties. And then when you're downshifting, if you can downshift down into third, but don't go into second until you're at a very low speed. And I haven't looked to see what speeds are the right speeds, but if you'll shift into second and first at a very low speed, and near when you're stopping, you're usually stopping. But when you get near stopping, then you can go into second and first, and you won't notice that. It'll go right in, and it won't sound like it's doing any, making any. Clicking or having trouble getting into gear. So maybe that'll help you. One other little detail from J.C. Whitney, I ordered these mirrors, and if you go into Suzuki, on the J.C. Whitney site, put in your bike S40 Suzuki Savage and look for accessories, and you'll see mirrors, and it's probably come up with these mirrors. You can kind of tell the teardrop size of them, the way they look. They don't stick up nearly as high as the Suzuki mirrors that come standard on the bike, and I was kind of wondering whether they'd really be effective, but they're fine in terms of really seeing behind you. They don't stick up as far, or maybe not out quite as far, but it's just better when I'm putting the cover on it and